Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making potato salad. This is one of my sister's recipes. She kind of combined a few to make it the way that we all like it. So let's get started. So it starts with, we're using red potatoes today, and we have about 9 of them. So my sister's here helping. She is peeling the potatoes and then I'm dicing them. And the goal when you're dicing them, because they need to be boiled, is to keep them roughly the same size because they'll cook evenly that way. So here I'm just showing roughly where we're going to cut it. So I cut the whole potato into 3 thick slices, and then we're going to cut it into sticks almost, like thick French fries kind of, and then turn it and cut it into cubes, so dice it up. And these are about 1/2-inch cubes, I would say. We're trying to make them even size so that they cook at similar times and we don't have some crunchy pieces with the soft pieces. So here you can kind of see how big we're going for the chunks. So this recipe is in a couple of parts. So the first part is the potatoes here. We're dicing up to boil them. And we filled the pot probably about 2 inches full of water because once the potatoes are put in there, the water gets obviously higher. We didn't want them to boil over. So this was about the perfect amount of water in there. After all the potatoes went in, it was a couple inches from the top of the pot and all of the potatoes were covered. So a couple of inches to start. You can always add more. So this recipe, we're going to boil the potatoes and then prepare there's kind of a sauce that goes on the potatoes after they're cooked that they'll soak in to give them a little bit of flavor. And then there's a dressing. We're going to call it sauce and a dressing because there's 2 different parts to it. But the dressing is essentially just the creamy part that is traditional potato salad. So we are peeling all of these potatoes because you could leave the peels on just for a little bit of texture, but we prefer to take the peels off. It's similar to the store-bought kind where there's typically no peels on the potatoes. So we're going to put this pot on the stove. We're going to salt the water just to try and give those potatoes a little bit more flavor, and turn it on high and let it come to a boil. And then our potatoes, once they're boiling, we usually boil them for about 8 minutes. And then we're going to mix up the sauce. For the sauce on the potatoes that they're going to soak in after they cook, we're doing 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, about 1 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 tablespoon of sugar. And we're going to whisk this together, and then once the potatoes are cooked, we'll fold them into this and let them soak, and it'll add a little bit more flavor to the cooked potatoes once they come out of the water. So this is what it looks like. It's just a really thin mixture because the only liquid in it is the vinegar. So the ingredients for this potato salad, for the sauce, we have celery salt, some diced red onion. This is homemade yogurt, but it's pretty soured now, so it's going to act as sour cream for us today because the recipe does call for sour cream. And then we have some pickle relish. I think this is, sweet pickle relish. And then we have some mayonnaise and yellow mustard. To tell if the potatoes are done, they're kind of going to get more rounded edges that aren't as harsh as when they were cut raw. And then if you try to poke them with a fork, they almost fall apart, but there's still some tension to them. So ours are done now. We're going to drain them off, and then while they're still hot, we don't cool them at all. Just put them into the bowl with your sauce, the apple cider vinegar sauce, and we're gently going to fold them in, trying not to break up any of the potatoes because they're still really hot and they'd be really easy to break at this point. So we're just going to gently fold them in and get them nice and coated with the sauce here. You can see these potatoes are very hot. They just came out of the water, and we put them straight in this bowl. And they do get a little bit broken up from this process, but they're still, you can see they still have their shape pretty well. And they're not mashed potatoes yet. Now we're going to make the sauce, and for that we are using 1/2 cup of sour cream. And for the sour cream, we're actually using yogurt today. I had made some homemade yogurt that's a little extra sour, so we're gonna replace that today because I don't have any sour cream. 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, and then we're using Kraft mayonnaise, but you could probably use any brand. It just might change the flavor a little bit. And then 1 teaspoon of yellow mustard, 2 tablespoons of pickle relish. We're using sweet relish today. We like the flavor better. And then about 1/4 teaspoon of celery salt and 1/2 cup of diced onions. Now you could put celery in this, but my family doesn't like anything crunchy in potato salad, so onions is a stretch for us. So we just do celery salt to get the flavor and not have it crunchy. And then we typically use sweet onions for this, but I had red onions today, so we're using that. And I mentioned my family doesn't like crunchy. This was still a little bit too big of pieces for them, but they still liked it. I was just told to next time make them smaller. So then obviously taste test, got to make sure that the seasonings are correct. That's where you can adjust it if you want to. Ours didn't need adjusted this time, but sometimes it does. So we are now going to add this dressing to the potatoes, and they're still hot. You can still see the steam on them. Now the dressing is pretty thin, but once it gets cold in the fridge, it will set up better. So we're still going to be gentle with these potatoes because they're still very warm, and we don't want to break them up and mash them too much. So we're just going to gently fold this dressing over them until it's all combined together nicely. We are going to taste it one more time. This isn't exactly necessary since we tasted the dressing part, but it's tasting with vinegar on it as well. And then you have potato salad after it's sat in the fridge and cooled off. It's delicious. This was an excellent batch that we made. So thank you all for coming along today to make potato salad with us. We had fun sharing this recipe and hope to see you next time. Bye.